Yes, man. Beloved, we are live.
Yep.
Okay. Give thanks, give thanks, man.
Long time.
We are here.
Yeah.
We are here. First of all, I gotta apologize, man, because
Why you say?
I've got the equipment that I would normally use. And it was supposed to come. I thought it was going to come yesterday, but they told me it's going to come by 10 o'clock tonight. So I'm using something that I wouldn't. I've been using, but it's not mine. You know what I mean? It's not my choice of weapon. I have several weapons. You know. So yeah, man. It's my cooking utensil that's supposed to be landed. You know.
That sounds dangerous, bro. He said, I got several weapons.
Sorry, that's cooking utensils.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me correct that. No weapons here. No weapons for me to prosper, and we don't battle against flesh and blood. But you know what I meant was cooking utensils.
Yeah,
cooking utensils.
I like it either way, bro. I'm good.
Yes, man. So beloved, we're here in a session, man. You know, just kind of thinking out aloud. It's crazy that 2025. But for those who probably don't necessarily know the genesis, would it be good in terms of discussing how things came about to where we are right now? Because that would offer a good backdrop for people to understand in terms of number one, how far we go back.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how you feel about that, whether for context purposes.
I think it's a good idea, bro. I think, I think it's a good idea. There's probably people who will have heard stuff that we've done, but have never seen us together.
Exactly. And even in this platform here, it kind of gives a good insight to the term Rare Jewelz, in a sense, how rare this was and how poles apart we were, how we discovered, etc. It's very rare in a sense. If I can give a backdrop from me, you know, I'm obviously a man who loves the Lord, been born again for a while now. Hip hop music has always been my thing, from a younger age, and during I would say whilst I was in school, towards the latter end of my school, some real things was happening in my life, to the point that I was with a former hip hop group that we were doing, and I love creating music. And anyway, something radical in my life where Jesus intervened. I don't want to say I found Jesus, etc. Or he found me. It was more like I found him, in a sense that's how it started. I fell in love, and when I had that radical decision in falling in love in Christ, I decided to kind of move away from the kind of hip hop scene. And then during my daily devotion, I never forget it. Jesus says to the disciples, "Come follow him, and I'll make you fishers of men." And that was the genesis moment for me, where the Lord told me about sanctifying what I used to do for his purposes, and hence I did. So the latter end of 89, 90, that reveals my age, I started on that journey. And those who know me up in Birmingham, I started like a holy hip hop group, Shekinah, and we were very radical in what we did. Very radical. We got a pushback from the church. So subsequently, life continued in that way, in that journey, and I kind of evolved and subsequently merged with other brothers in that sense. But it wasn't till with life getting involved in terms of married life and children being born, with my three wonderful kids. Back then it was two, and I decided that, you know what, family in a sense first. Um, and I was with another group at the time making music. And then we had something which is called MySpace, and I was on there surfing the big wide web, and I discovered I just stumbled on your page, and I'm trying to remember who the connection was, because back then you had like a top, the format of MySpace, you had yourself, and then you could have like your top friendship group, and that would normally be like your profile of, if you click on that your profile, and your friendship group would almost define who you were, what type of person you are, or kind of thing. And I know it must have been through someone, but I clicked on your page, and I look, man. I'm from the vein of Rakim, you know, and I love what Kev Brown used to say. Kev Brown says one of the lines: "I write my bars like I'm waiting for a call from Rakim to say that I'm tight." It's that vein. I want to hear lines like that, you know. And when I heard you brother, you, I just heard this freestyle you done, and it was something about your scheme about the grizzly bear.
Oh man.
And you went in out. If I could just, it was just, this rhyme scheme was silly, and you says I barefoot, and it was just crazy. I remember looking at it, and that became a genesis moment for me, because I thought, yeah, I can't rap. Forget that. I'll put the mic down. I said, forget that. Just leave it that. So you just took it to another level. And I just tapped in and said, hey man, you know, you're cool and blah 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 and stuff like that. And then we just kind of, you know, what are you into? I'm into. Okay, cool. Would you? Let's see. And then it just evolved around that, man. And that was started late to say 2000, the early 2006.
Yeah.
Crazy.
2006. Do you know what? 2006. So let me see. 25 minus 6 is what?
Whoa. Well, 19. You're talking, like, you know, my gosh, it's like crazy. Almost like 19 years. 18, 19 years.
That doesn't sound right to me. That don't even sound right to me.
It's crazy. It's mad, and it was crazy because you know, you were back and forth, and I know you was picking up from where you're from in terms of you're from originally New Jersey, etc. So you was kind of back and forth between here and there, etc. So it was kind of crazy, and then we just went on. It was a weird run and an energy that we was back and forth with beats and stuff like that, and you would. I would send you something, and then, you know, probably the following day or stuff, you send something back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, whoa, what? And then you just go ridiculous on your words again. You know, I was thinking, every time you sent me back, it just cemented my position. Like, yeah, just don't ever touch the mic again. ever. You know, I was like, ever. So I was like, wow. You know. And the irony was, even back in the days when I was doing the music myself, and, you know, jams, etc. Jamo, who I was writing with, Living Proof, shout out to them, to Dave and Jamo. We always said we knew we wasn't the lyricist ones. We were just trying to hold the fort until someone came through. And because we always wanted to go behind the boards, we had a fascination of being behind the boards. And you just came and just like, whoa. Yeah. Let me just make room. You know. So, but no, man. It was crazy from the. You know my style. You You said I mean, you said it there. Eyes recognize reels.
Mm,
Eyes spot as true scribe, and yes, sir, I did. I
wow.
saw a true scribe, and I said, yes, you are. Let me just stay over here.
Wow.
You know, and it was beautiful, man. There was a great synergy. Your love for hip hop, your
Mm,
love for the Lord.
mm,
And it was something different. It was a beautiful synergy at the time, man. And
mm.
what got you into this space?
So, I was not an avid listener of hip hop growing up.
Hmm.
Whenever I got it, it would be indirectly from the environment.
Hmm.
Because my mother didn't allow it. So
Hmm.
I'm originally from Jersey, but we moved to Kentucky when I was quite young. I was about 8 or 9 years old.
Hmm.
In that transition, my mother was really trying to create an environment that she felt was healthy for raising her kids.
Hmm.
She had 4 of us, 3 sons and a daughter. So whilst I had been exposed a little bit to hip hop in Jersey because it was the early days, I remember listening to Hearing in the Neighborhood, Slick Rick and Dana Dane.
Man.
Right? But I was ignorant still. I didn't know, you just in the environment, right?
Hmm.
It was majority soul music, Luther Vandross, Patti LaBelle,
Come on.
El DeBarge, Freddie Jackson, May, Frankie Beverly and Mays and all of that. Yeah, so, but when we moved to Jersey, moved to Kentucky, my mom was just really trying to transition and do something different. And so initially she started attending church.
Hmm.
And so obviously as her kids, we would go and stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily, I would say I was a believer early. I wasn't at all, to be honest. I was just around the gospel and around the neighborhood. And so I started hearing the music in the neighborhood. Because Kentucky was interesting, man. It was one of those places where it's funny, I think back now about the evolution of hip hop and the public's exposure to it. There's all of these historic pictures of Kool Herc riding around with the big speakers in the back, right?
Come on.
In Kentucky, that bass culture, that it's weird, man, to say this now, but I look at it because I'm now more familiar with Jamaican culture.
Okay.
Right? Dudes in Kentucky used to ride around with 18-inch subwoofers. I mean, you probably seen some of this when the South really came up in hip hop. They would show like
Yes.
these big sound, and that was Kentucky, man. So it was before the South. You really had North, South, and East and West Coast hip hop and all that. So you would hear a little bit of everything. So I remember very vividly in our hood, Rob Bass, right? I want to rock right now. I'm Rob Bass and I came to get
down. I'm not internationally known, but I'm known to the microphone. Come on. Come on.
Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, man.
Boom. Special ed and
Come on.
I started hearing all of this stuff, man. KRS-One, and so we were going to church in a new place, Kentucky, which was very different for me than New Jersey. Didn't have really much family around. So that was kind of the backdrop to my exposure to two things, man. Faith, faith and hip hop. And so challenging times. We moved from New Jersey, but where we lived in Kentucky was still the hood, still a lot going on. Single parent mother trying to raise 3 boys and a girl. And there were issues, man. And my oldest brother got caught up in some issues and stuff, and I was around it too. And some things just went left, man. We had some challenges. It started to make me really kind of think about the Lord still
Mm-hmm.
waywardness, thinking about the Lord and being conscious of decisions and stuff. And at the same time, I'm hearing this hip hop, most of it conscious, until I heard NWA,
Mm.
and that was like when I heard that, I was like, this is different than what I'm used to hearing.
Yeah, I hear you.
And stuff started happening. These movies started coming out, Boys in the Hood, Mr. Society, and things just kind of erupted, man, in our neighborhood, just went real crazy. And some tragic things happened. And so it really made me start to think about what I was listening to, but also what I was hearing of being around my mom too, like the gospel and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And I saw myself going down the wrong path, man. And so eventually, after a few things happened, that I really felt tarnished my mother's trust of me.
Mm.
Hated it. I eventually gave my, surrender to the Lord, man. I said, Lord, direct me, because at the time my father wasn't in my life the way I needed,
I hear you.
and we didn't have male figures around, other than a few at church who I came to get closer to.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, man, the seed of hip hop was already sown, right?
I hear you.
I saw a couple of videos. I saw Nas, and then the first one was Ghostface. I saw Ghostface and Mary J. Blige.
Mm.
And he's got the fur on, and he's sitting at the piano. And yeah, the scenes that I saw in there just reminded me so much of Jersey and my brokenness and how I felt about that experience. And what I saw on the screen in the form of his video with her, it depicted the same scenes that I had been living, man. And when I saw that, I thought, this guy is a complete stranger, right? But he's talking about what I've experienced. And so whilst I understood my mom's, why she didn't want that music at home,
Mm-hmm.
there was a seed sown, because there was a man on the television artistically displaying my experience that resonated with my young heart, that my life had value. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, you hit on a number of points there, and it's crazy that two individuals from two different continents. My one, where at an early age my mother passed away abruptly in front of me, just out the blue, which kind of crazy impact, just mad. And going through the school journey and just longing for someone to, because that is quite interesting in terms of traditional values and gender roles, but that typical stereotypical nuclear family, in a sense, where just wanting to be seen,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
that unconditional love that a mother traditionally often gives, was crazy, etc. And it was from two different continents. You can hear a genre of music that was authentically from the streets, in opposed to traditionally of the other genres where you had to be polished. You had to be look polished before
Wow.
you were groomed and put back on. This was the opposite. You
Wow.
came with your natural self, your authenticity,
Wow.
and you talked about stuff that resonated with you.
Wow.
And when I heard you talked about with Ghostface, and you've seen that from the video, from the words expressed, you saw something that, oh my gosh, that's me, that's it. And I just never, I'll never forget little words of like Rakim and KRS words. Rakim says, you were here to be much more than that, but you couldn't see because your mind gets trapped. Now I'm here to break away the chains, take away the pain, to reveal the name. And I remember thinking, wow, yeah. And when I heard Public Enemy and those guys that talked about, no, there's more. You are. And that's not, and especially going in the school system where you're hoping professionals will be able to authenticate and help you and give you that unconditional positive regards to say, yes, you're valued, and it wasn't like that in those times when we were growing up, especially from the Windrush we're first generation Windrush in that sense. And it's crazy that I just see the synergy in what you mentioned in terms of the similar patterns that you gravitated, or despite, like your parent, my dad was like, you know why you're the rubbish in the yard in here, you know, it's all about Jesus, and I get what they were trying to do, but we were like, man, no, they're speaking in to me right now, and I'm seeing them, and they're helping me in that sense. And it's crazy that in that space, you know, God kind of maneuvered to kind of answer and fulfill, and you could almost see the footprints and how things were kind of sent in terms of how they were moving. So I totally resonate what you're saying there, beloved. I think that was those points are crucial, man. You know, bro, you it's so from that situation, you kind of how did you get into the rhyming?
Yeah, so it was so eventually, after kind of finding myself through sports and stuff, I eventually got a scholarship to go to university. Um, and before I went to university, I was singing, right? I used to be in the choir at school. Um,
Okay.
and even at church, when I got saved, when I started following the Lord, worship was something that was really big on my heart. So I would sing all the time. So music became it had always been an important part to my life. I think in most the diaspora black folks' homes, music is just so significant in our upbringings. But I was in the choir at high school,
Mm.
and and did a lot of singing. But when I left and went to university, what I felt, um, there was a bit of a shifting going on because I had distinctively invested myself and listened to a lot of preachers, right?
Hmm.
T.D. Jakes, another guy called Rod Parsley, Miles Monroe. There was a couple of
Yes.
them, Charles Stanley. I would just listen to these guys so much. And I felt like the spirit of proclamation, you know what I'm saying? I felt myself walking into or evolving into someone who wanted to speak empowerment. You know, God had
Mm.
the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound.
Mm.
And so whilst I was singing, there was also this militant, resilient spirit of this overcomer, this conqueror, you know, to
Come
try
on.
to deal with by this time my brother had gone to prison.
Hmm.
And so I went to university on my own, man. And
Mm.
I met a couple of guys there who, this one particular guy, actually a white cat from California, man. I remember his name is Steve.
Mm.
We were on the football team. And
Okay.
he had so much hip hop, bro.
Serious.
This is back, he used to keep his CDs in the crates, right? This back when he was running around with crates.
Okay.
And he had like hundreds of CDs. And so he would come around my dorm, or whenever I'd see him, he'd be playing stuff. And so it was almost like that environment that I remembered from Frankfurt, Kentucky, and music playing in the hood in people's cars. It was now in my environment and I had access to it.
Wow. Shout
So,
out to Steve, man.
yeah,
Shout out to Steve, man.
shout out to Steve. And so one summer, I think it was my sophomore year, my mom moved, right? My mom moved to Oklahoma. And so I was in Kentucky on my own, really heartbroken, to be honest, because of all of the different family dynamics and transition.
Hmm.
And I wound up staying in this place, Lexington, Kentucky, where I also used to live. I went to high school. And me and my guy one night, we went downtown, was just hanging out, and we decided to go see a film called Slam. Okay, now you'll be familiar with this thing called slam poetry. And this was early days of slam, before slam poetry was global. And I saw this film, and in that film, Saul Williams, who was the lead role, he's an amazing poet. He did something with words, man. Actually, the scene is he's in prison at the time, or he's in jail. He's incarcerated.
Mm.
There's an altercation about to pop off. Him and a guy is about to have it out in the yard. And he runs and he goes into a verse, man, and starts spitting his verse.
Wow.
And the whole of the yard stops, comes to a cease, and they just focusing on him. Um,
Mm.
yeah, and so when I saw that, I thought, you know what? If words can be like this is not hip hop. This is poetry, so to speak. So when I went back to school, that a couple of weeks after that, I started writing, man, every day.
Wow. Wow.
And then after that, I saw Mos Def and Kweli. I saw Black Star. I got exposed to a lot of common stuff, De La Soul. And then
Wow.
after that, I was like, I just started writing, bro. I just started writing.
Wow. That's crazy. How, I mean, shout out to Steve in terms of surrounding yourself to that pool and then seeing something visually that can spark something just to start writing, and not only writing but writing descriptively, and you really, you kind of really paint a picture, and it's crazy that how you gravitated, but started to see like more Stephen Quali. I mean, Black Star. Those are my guys, man. Those are they love the whole native tongues. They are native tongues to me, and they're just incredible. And it's crazy that you can craft words to depict a scene that you're in it,
Yeah.
especially from something that's that you can see and pick up from, and then just kind of gravitate. I just find it fascinating.
Mm.
Which in terms of from Ghost,
Yeah.
you mentioned to Talib and Molson Common.
Yeah.
Which other kind of artists would you say, if you was to say you was an amalgamation of, would that be?
It's weird that Ghost had that much influence on me, because I don't think I resemble him in, well, there's some things, yeah. But early days, I have to go back to Kentucky, because I remember I used to binge on, when I'm alone in my room, sometimes I stare at the wall in the back and my conscience call telling me I'm a girl. Right? I used to binge on that, man. I didn't even know what I was doing at the time. But so I think he had an influence. I think Uncle L had an influence.
Come on.
Certainly Nas, definitely.
Yes.
Wu-Tang for sure. Black Thought.
Come on.
Yeah, man. I'm Common later on, but initially, I would say Ghost had the spot, Nas, LL, Mos, Black Thought, and then probably AZ. I would probably say those six.
Yeah, I can see that, and it's funny. Even regarding Ghost, I think people don't give him the proper flowers. I mean, man, he put you there.
Yeah, he
That
does.
song, when you hear that song, "Run," you're there. You're running with him. You just hear it, and you're like, you're there. I'm telling you that when I heard that there's a track, is it Fish Scales? And he done the one about, is it Miss Brown, over Jay Dilla's track, High. Man, I'm there. He's a, yeah. Don't get it twisted. Ghost is, yeah. He brings you there. He brings you there.
I think it's so unique, man. It's so authentic.
Yes.
And emotionally, it's just the words and the sounds, man. It just got me. So that's what, yeah, man. So because of my convictions and newly formed consciousness and spirituality, what came out of me was a result of that being exposed to scriptures and the life that I had come out of, right? The experience that I had. And it was just authentically, I mean, all of those dudes are lyricists.
100%.
So it was,
100.
what came out of me was authentically lyrical from a biblical challenged socioeconomical background. And initially, bro, I did not fit. I found, because as I said, I was initially a worshiper, and I still had that. But with the situations that I faced with my brother, which was a lot of it political in terms of his incarceration, it just made me militant. in terms of approaching life, because I thought a lot of these peoples and governments claim to be orchestrating on behalf of God as well and for justice, and this is unjust. And so whilst the worship was a significant part of my life, the warrior side in terms of the proclamations came out in the form of rap, man. Because
bro, I want to double click on that point because, first of all, let me give an infomercial. I believe there's a brother, a gangster. Is it Big Shug? And Big Shug, I mean, he's a beast. But my God, the brother can sing. And guys, don't get it twisted. Kimber's got a voice. I'm telling you. So the whole time for that is the brother can sing. But I love that heart, that you've got a heart for worship, because it's quite interesting, and this is where the synergy lies, because in my radicalization, I put the music aside and I joined the worship team and I play drums. So for years I love worship. But it's kind of weird that in our heart and to God, in that sense, there is a growing sense of certain particular things of kind of, I want to say social justice, but there is it's almost like a righteous indignation where you see things and you're thinking, well, that's not really right, and you want to address it. And it's quite interesting because when you listen to some of your early material, especially with the Rare Jewelz, you articulately bring that sense of, no, this is not right. And the way you kind of crafted. I remember one of the early stuff that we did. We done a mixtape, which is King's Pawn mixtape, and you document. It's almost autobiographical, the incidents regarding your brother, and man, I'm there. If one of my greatest regrets, and I think all producers kind of have that in a sense, that there's certain times when you go back and listen to, you're thinking, man, I think I should have done more in that production day just to enhance what he said, because it was so beautifully crafted and it really resonated. And one of your lines you mentioned, it was violently prosecuted, but a snake with a tongue. No wonder we burn with hatred like the rage of the sun. Beloved, I'm telling you, what you kind of, and I think that's, and I shout out to Mud Monkey. He's on Province. He's on the Instagram, and DJ Rock. What these guys put me onto Black Star, and and it's kind of, just because you're a believer doesn't necessarily you can't subscribe to truth. And that's something I never heard in Christian hip hop before as well. That was quite strange, because the pendulum went normally the other way. It was almost like holy, see you later, God has delivered me, amen. But not talking about the realities of the social injustice, the economical injustice, and various other things, and identity, which was very unique there, man. You see what I'm saying?
That, bro, that's a mouth.